Hey everyone, this is Mike Andes. You're listening to the Business Bootcamp Podcast. In today's episode 103, I want to thank our episode sponsor, which is TopTal. That's TOPTAL. You can check them out at toptal.com. And if you're interested, make sure you send me an email to businessbootcamppodcast@gmail.com because I have a connection over there with Nelson. And what TopTal does is essentially they hire the best of the best as far as freelancers are concerned. And so if you need any sort of programming, website development, anything to do with tech, design, they're the guys you want to be using. We've just been able to help a huge amount of entrepreneurs over at using the guys over at TopTal. So make sure you email me. I'll introduce you to Nelson. He's the VP over there in the partnerships department, and he's going to be able to set you up with the right people. So email me, and I will set you up with Nelson. So if you have anything to do with e-commerce, or if you need an app built, or you have a back end as far as server side or more of the UI user interface, make sure you give me an email, and I'll get you set up with that. And they're going to give us a free trial for all the boot campers. So make sure you email me if that's of interest to you. But today, I had a couple people give me a question via email concerning seasonal businesses, and I thought it was applicable. I got a few in a week actually, and then also it's applicable because I have a seasonal business with lawn care, landscaping, material delivery, etc. And so I want to talk about that. But also, I just want to say, if you do have a question, I really like when you make me a voice note on the website. So if you can do that, you can use the SpeakPipe widget on there and just send me an audio, and then I can actually play it on the episode. And I get quite a few. Some of them I can't play on the episodes just because the nature of the business, or they don't want me to, and that's fine, totally fine. Otherwise though, I love to put some of the audio clips of the entrepreneurs yourself asking the question here on the show. So do that, or feel free just as usual to send me an email at businessbootcamppodcast@gmail.com, or on the website. Just hit me up and I can get you as much advice as I can on how to start, grow, or save your business. Now, what we're talking about when we come to seasonal businesses, and this isn't going to be a long episode, but I think it'll be helpful for some people. And with seasonal businesses, we're talking businesses that are maybe for 6 to 9 months out of the year super busy, but then there's a period of time where it gets really slow. Typically, this has a lot to do with home improvement, things like lawn care, landscaping, construction, even plumbing and heating and air conditioning, things like that, affected a lot by this. Even if people have businesses centered around holidays, things like Halloween or Christmas or New Year's, if their business model is revolving around that, or even if you're in something like online retail, a lot of your sales are going to be around Christmas. So you're still technically a seasonal business. You're going to bulk up on employees and inventory and all of that during those really busy times. And so for a small business owner, it's tough when you have a seasonal business because you have a few different problems. You have, number one, cash flow. It is huge swings. So in your busy months, you might be making $100,000 a month revenue, and in your slow times, you might be making only 10 or 20 or 30,000. And the problem with that isn't so much for the business owner as far as net profit, because if you've structured it correctly, your fixed cost can be covered even in your slow months, and your variable costs like labor, materials, and all of that can be aren't since you have low sales, those variable costs are low as well, and so you can at least cover your fixed costs. That's really the main objective if you have a seasonal business. If you have questions on that, you can email me, but because that gets really, you can get really deep on that. But like as far as that's concerned, you just need to make sure you cover your fixed cost during the slow months. However, this is the problem. It's okay for the business owner, but the problem is if you have employees, they might not be able to handle taking off work or going to 20, 30 hours a week for 2, 3, 4 months out of the year. And so this is the problem. And the big thing is if you hire great people and you spend time training them and you spend resources and energy making sure that they are comfortable in their position and they're thriving and successful within the business, the last thing you want to do is during a slow period, lose them to some other job or opportunity because they simply didn't get enough hours working with your company. So some people, there's a couple ways to deal with this, and some small business owners will essentially just pay free cash to their employees that are really valuable to them, so their managers or the people, and essentially just dig themselves a hole, go into the red during the slow months in order to keep those people on board. Sometimes that works, and it can work. It's not optimal, obviously, if you're going into the red to just pay people and keep them on staff. The other part that's negative about this is really driven employees. Just money alone isn't keeping them at the workplace. They're wanting challenges. They're wanting to actually show up to work and be busy and feel like they're contributing and not just be getting a paycheck for free, or whether or not they are working or not. So that's not always a free ticket, is just giving them money during the winter or during the time when you're slow. So for like us, the lawn care, we're super busy from about the third week of February to the end of November. During December, January, and the first couple weeks of February, it's very slow, and I'd say our workload is about cut down by 70%. So we only have about 30% of the workload. And so this year, since we've really grown quite a bit, and I have employees that I really don't want to lose over the winter. And even though I'm sure they would probably come back next year and they could just get temporary work during the winter, or get part-time jobs and then work at our place part-time. Even though I think that would happen and I think they'd still come back, I don't want to even risk it. And it's not even that I don't want to risk it. I don't even want to inconvenience them, because they've contributed so much to my business and to my success and the company's success, that I really feel obligated to make sure that they succeed and that they feel that they have a secure job that's going to be able to pay them year-round, and constantly they can learn and adapt and grow within our organization. So the second alternative to just giving someone money throughout the winter is grow and expand into a new sector, or two, go into a completely different business. And so when I say grow and expand into a different sector, that means within your industry there might be a portion of work that can be done during your slow period. For instance, we have lawn care and landscaping, and that's great and everything, and the materials and all that. But the materials like dirt and gravel and soil, all that stuff, that really drops off in the winter just because people aren't out and about in their yard putting that stuff down. Landscaping, same thing. Lawn care, the grass doesn't grow during the winter. Okay, so we were looking at the possibility of doing things like artificial turf or installing putting greens and just trying to book them throughout the winter, but then actually taking those bookings during July, August, September, when everyone's thinking about it. Problem with that is people don't like to wait 5-6 months. However, in our market, no one else really does that, so it was an actual viable option, and it still is for us. And so all of these things I'm talking about today, I'm actually thinking about in my business. And is it install artificial turf, whether it be lawns, putting greens, places for dogs, playground grass, all of these options that you can use artificial turf in. So that's one way we're kind of thinking about trying to keep not just our main staff, but also just our laborers, and be actually able to grow the business throughout the winter. And this can be applied to so many different seasonal businesses. I'm just using ours as an example. Now, the second option that we're looking at is buying a completely separate business that is completely different than our industry, so that during our slow time, we really can just move people and resources over to the other business and be able to keep the key employees and key management staff. And so what we're looking at right now is buying another business completely in a different industry, and we have one right now that we've actually placed a bid on, and we'll see how that goes, and if it goes through and everything, I'll make sure to let everyone know, and I'll keep you updated. But these are our two options. If we want to be able to maintain our employees, keep them on staff, keep them occupied, keep them succeeding and growing within the company throughout our slow time, we either have to buy another business or create a new sector within our industry. And so if you might be doing plumbing, and you say, well, the plumbing that I do really revolves a lot around the construction and construction revolves around the heat and the weather, so I get really slow during the winter, you might say. Well, what you could do is, instead of just doing new installation of plumbing and installing plumbing on an entire house, maybe you want to get into fixing cracked pipes, because during the winter, when the construction is low, that's when people's pipes might freeze, break, and crack, and they need emergency service, or they need a plumber to come in and do that sort of thing. And so that's just a way you can really go into a different sector of your industry. Another option is, instead of doing plumbing throughout the entire year, when it gets slow, maybe you want to look into doing something like heating, because during the winter that might be your slow time for plumbing, but at a time when people's heaters are breaking and they need repair, etc. That's just like an example, but there's really so many. I'd say 50% of the businesses that contact me for advice in some way, shape, or form are seasonal, whether it be service-based businesses that are revolving around home improvement and the weather, or whether it be online sales that revolve almost always around Christmas or some other holiday in the year. Just regardless of the type of business, almost all business have some sort of ebb and flow and some sort of swing in sales throughout the year, and technically can be considered seasonal to some extent. So I hope, like, what we've talked about is kind of giving you an idea. I know it's not like anything groundbreaking, but a few people have asked me about this in their service-based businesses, and the one was an online e-commerce store, and they were selling toys. They were it's kind of like Etsy almost. They created them on by themselves, by handmade, and they're really successful. But they had this really hard problem of, during, I think it was like February, March, and April, their sales were only like 20% of what they were in October, November, December. And so how they got through that was just creating a different toy, that the handmade toy. I don't want to give too much away because I never asked. They never didn't really want me to say too much. But like, they just created a different type of toy that would sell really well during the spring. And it really took off. And now they said, hey, like, not only are we able to keep the same amount of revenue coming in during those months, we've actually seen an improvement in sales in our original category, because all these new customers we brought in are now buying into the category that sells really well in the winter. And so that's just it's a great way to cross-sell and promote your business if you go into a completely different business even. So for instance, we do lawn care right now, and we bought auto repair company. There's a great way to cross promote the businesses. You meet a lot of the same people. That one customer that needs landscaping probably needs their car fixed or their brakes checked or whatever, right? And so there's ways to cross promote a business if you buy a completely different business, or if you want to go into a different sector. So like for us, if we went into the artificial turf business, we essentially can meet every single one of our lawn customers, our landscaping clients. All of them are potential clients for the new sector. So there's great ways to cross promote and upsell people. If they're having a landscaping job, they might be able to get a putting green sold to them, things like that. And so that's something to think about. I know so many of the entrepreneurs out there have seasonal businesses, and so it's sometimes, the other alternative is, if you just are a solo entrepreneur just by yourself doing all the work, a lot of times people work like 60, 70 hours during their busy time, and then just take off a couple months when it's slow. So really this whole episode is for people that have employees and don't want to lose them, or don't want to make them feel like they are trying to just get through the winter or get through the slow time for the business. Because I don't really feel like a good employee should have to suffer when the business is just going through a slow period of sales, or just the lower part of the year. And if you want to retain great people, I feel like you got to keep them on a treadmill of success, on a treadmill of growth, and really allow them to expand. And sometimes really the people that are really like that, they'll do great when you buy a new business, because it allows them to learn an entire new skill set and apply their management experience or technical experience, whatever it is, and really go into a completely new market and give them new challenges that they could actually develop new skills and bring it back to your original business and help that grow as well. So that's it for today, everyone. This is episode 103 on the Business Bootcamp podcast. Again, thank you to TopTal for sponsoring the episode. Let me know if you think you can use their services. I promise you won't be disappointed. Send me an email, and I'm going to get you introduced over to Nelson, VP at TopTal. So this is Mike Andy signing off on the Business Bootcamp podcast.